the thing you have to know for today that will answer like literally half of your questions. Half the homework comes down to this. Whenever you see ln, you put, do you remember from yesterday? Log base e. If you replace this with this, then all the normal logs rules apply. This is just a log. It happens to have this weird base. So all the normal rules apply. So even something like this, e ln e, whenever you see ln, you replace it with, what did I just say? Log base e. And watch how I do that. Just the ln part becomes log base e, and then I bet you'll be smart enough to know what the answer is here. E, very good. Because these are the same. Do you remember that pattern? The bases are the same, then the answer's already there. The answer for this one would be E. All right. How about if I had E ln of E? Like I said, do what I said. Replace the ln with what it means. And I bet you'll figure out what the answer is. Yeah, because if you put a log base e here, you could either argue that's just 1, and 1 times e is e. Or who is thinking, I'm going to put this up as a power? That's a good way too. Yeah, that's a good way to do it. Because if you put the e up here, then you'll go, whenever these are the same, the answer's already there, and it's the e. Either way, it's e. So the thing that solves it pretty much every time is replace the ln with a log base e. All right. So what if the power says e to the x equals 5? Then what? Well, then it's not a log. But you could make it a log. Everybody do that. Make it a log. I bet you when you make this thing a log, write it down, make it a log. She's drifting. There you go, you're back now. If you make this thing into a log, you'll have the answer. But it's just your calculator. Get out of your way using it. Thank you. Nordstrom, what was the log?
Log base of e.
Yep.
To the power of 5.
Say that right.
Oh, wait.
Log base e. There's a little 2-letter word. Of 5. There you go.
Equals x.
There you go. Did anybody write it as ln 5? That was good. You don't have to. Because log base e means ln, you could have written ln 5, couldn't you? If it's really true that log base e means ln, you could have said ln 5. Make sense? Are you starting to get this? If you can switch out log base e and ln, these two become interchangeable in your head, that's the key for today. It's pretty much all you gotta know. But now I gotta review all these things, like what if we needed to put 2 logs that have the same base together, like squish them together. And then these logs, would you agree that they have the same base? What is their base? And you could even not replace it with log base e, and you could probably figure out what to do. Go ahead. You've gotten good at combining logs yet? That's definitely a big skill on the test. You have to see this and go, oh yeah, for sure I'm going to put them together in 1 log. And I would totally respect the answer of log base e of 5x or ln 5x. Either one's fine because log base e means ln. Raise your hand if you had that one right. Okay, good. Now we're going to give you one that's actually an equation. See, take that same thing that you just had and say equals 2. So then this equals 2. And then I'm going to say solve it. Solve. That means get the x and on. It's kind of warm in here today. I've noticed a lot of kids kind of fighting boredom. And I know it could be because the lesson's boring, but it also, the heat definitely makes it harder to stay awake. So stay awake. All right, e to the second is 5x. Now, don't be alarmed that you don't know what e squared is. Could you replace it with 2.7? Yes, but would that be better? No, because it would just be rounded off. E left alone is more accurate, so we'll just leave it as e squared. And then divide by 5, divide by 5. And again, I know some of you would like to have a nice clean answer, like, 7.2. You could do this with a calculator. There's a button for E. But even doing it on a calculator, it's still not more accurate. Because do you get that the calculator has to stop somewhere? It can't memorize E to infinity places. So this is considered an exact answer, and any decimal you would give me, even using the E button on your calculator, which gives you E to like 7 places or whatever, it's still not more accurate. This is the most accurate way to write the answer. Just leave it like that today. It's good. Good enough. All right. So let's just keep going through all the little things you know about logs, except this time we're going to use log base E. So it's going to be ln of 1. You should know the answer already. Done. There's a 1 in the argument. What's the answer? 0. Okay, good. What other little rules do we have? Well, what if we had a log with a, I'm not going to write a base of anything other than e, right? So I'm not going to write a base, but I'm going to say e to the third. What's the answer? 3. Because if I took a second and wrote this, it would become obvious. Oh, yeah, it's got to be 3. Okay. This is going to mess with your head. 10 to the power of log e. I know the answer. Say it if you know it. The answer is e. But I thought you said that the base was e. I didn't say the base was always e. I said if it was ln, the base would be e. This one doesn't have a base, so its base is 10. So then these are the same, and the answer is e. Okay. Any questions about that one? Okay. What else do we have to know about logs? About a million things. Graphing them is one of them. Do you remember how to graph plain old log x? Well, first of all, let's talk about what it looks like. What is its base? Because I really think the number one thing you should always do on a test is figure out what the base is, because if there's no base, it's going to be all about the base. So what is the base here? Log base 10 of x. Now, if I was going to have to graph that, do you know what it even looks like at all? That's what log graphs look like, and they have an asymptote there. You may want to write that down. I saw a lot of blank stares, like you may have forgotten what logs look like. And they're kind of like the opposite of exponentials. That's what exponentials look like. The green one's like exponential. The blue one's like log. And they're a reflection of each other over this line of y equals x. And that makes them what's called inverses of each other. Okay, so do you now agree that the blue one is sort of an approximation of what that graph should be? Now, you would have to have 3 key points, because it takes 3 points to define a curve. Would everybody please take a second and find me 3 things on this graph? And of course, in a minute, we're going to do with ln, but right now, this is log base 10. You get to pick any numbers you want. Copy this down. Tell me you're drifting. We'll be done in a minute. Zeke, give me a number that you're sticking in. 10's a good call. Was log base 10 of 10? So 10 comma 1 is a point on this graph. And I'm realizing that, for scale and everything, I think I should probably make it turn a little sharper. Do you remember hearing that the bigger the base is, the tighter the turn is? This turn's really sharp. Over 10 up 1. It's another easy one to put in for x. 1. Because if you got a 1 there, you won the argument. And if you won the argument, you get nothing. 1, 0. Ooh, that's right here. Sweet. Now if I could just do one more smart point. There is another smart one. 1/10. Very nice. If you're pondering that, I hope you realize that's like 10 to the negative 1. So 1/10 then is like 10 to the negative 1. So the answer is negative 1. So I guess my graph should really go through more like that. So my curve, as we all would understand, is not perfect. Got a lot closer to the asymptote quicker than I had pictured it. I'm going to make the rounded corner a little nicer here too. There we go. I got 3 points. Got the asymptote in there. Let's do it for ln. Y equals ln x. I personally think that the same thing I started this class hour with, which is replace ln with log base e, still is smart advice. So do that, and it'll make you finding your 3 points easier. And hint, you may interchangeably write e or 2.7. Because to graph e, you really got to know it's about 2.7. Otherwise, you're not going to know where to put it. So whenever you want to say e, you can say 2.7. Whenever you're about to say 2.7, you can realize, well, I can just say e. It's more accurate. I hope you already have done this. Log base e. And that will remind you, oh yeah, I guess I should make x. Since I get to guess anything I want, I'm going to pick 1 because I won the argument, I get nothing. That's always good. But then how about e? Right? If I put in an e here, then the answer would be 1. All right, and then what else would work? 1 over e, good call. 1 over e, which we all will know is about 1 over 3-ish. 2.7 is about 3, isn't it? So it's pretty much like 1/3. Because whenever I have an e, it's like a 2.7. 2.7 is pretty close to 3. It's about 1/3-ish. Do you think I could tell the difference on a graph between, like 1 over 2.7 or 1 over 3? I probably can't tell the difference. And then this becomes e to the negative 1, which makes negative 1. Cool, I got 3 points. And wherever I see e, I could put 2.7. And then you'd be able to graph them. Okay, there, I've reminded you about almost everything you have to know about logs, like how to add them, how to solve them, how to rewrite them. And you just have to know that ln is the same as log base e. Now let's go start your Schoology quiz. Everybody open up the Schoology quiz. He's got a bunch of questions, but you have a whole lot of time today. Between you and the person sitting next to you, that would be smart to have a partner work on this together. You don't have to, but could you read me number 1, please? I'm ready. ln e, like that? Now remember my advice. What did I say about ln? Oh, wait, over 4, okay. What did I say about ln? Make it log base e, do it. To me, it just instantly transforms the problem, and I'm like, oh, the top is log base e of e, I know that. What's the top? 1. So do you get this is really just 1/4? So I could just put in the answer of 1/4, or if you wanted a decimal 0.25, I'm guessing that the Schoology quiz would probably take either one. So again, you can look at that problem and be confused, but I warned you, every time you see ln, if you rewrite it as log base e, you'll realize what's going on. So don't just stare at these. It tends to be on a Schoology quiz. A lot of times kids won't write the problems out. And you can stare at it and it'd be like so hard. Take a second, write it down, and replace log base e with ln, or the other way around. Replace ln with log base e. Brandon, would you read me number 2, please?
12 is equal to e to the 0.048x.
All right. So if you wrote that down, you wouldn't just stare at it. You'd write it down, and then you'd go, okay, what can I do with this? You could rewrite it and do the circle of logs. E to the 12th equals 0.048x. Why is that better? Because, wait a minute, did I just do that wrong? I did that wrong. Sorry. It is the circle of logs, but I forgot to put in the log. I'm like, where's the log? There wasn't a log. Sorry. Log. Okay. Log base what? Ooh, there's a shock. Log base e of 12 equals 0.048x. And now if I just have to get this x alone, I got to get rid of this pesky 0.048, divide by it on both sides. And x is alone, and then you got it. I even got confused there for a second. At least I remembered that I was rewriting it, and that usually means you're bringing in a log or you're taking out a log. So in this case, I was bringing in a log.
How many percent in the...
It's an excellent question. What does it say in the directions? Round to 2 decimal places. Does that imply that you'd have to use a calculator for this? Yeah. And this one I can't overcome by just saying, I'll accept it without it. The Schoology quiz isn't going to get it until you use a calculator. So I would use ln for this. And no, I know this is annoying because you won't have a calculator on the test, but put in ln 12 and then divide it by 0.048. And you'll get a decimal, and you put it in. Make sure you round it to the right place. You want log. Okay, 2 things. You want to find ln, because for this problem, you would type ln 12. You know what I mean? Because log base e means ln. So find the ln key. That's on the left-hand side. And somebody remind me where on the TI-84s do you find the key? I think it's above the divide key. I could be wrong. Yep, it's above the divide key. If you don't have one of these, you can get one by going through single sign-on and, like click through that whole thing. It's in my yellow folder on my Schoology site. If you want to borrow one from me, I've got a couple on my desk. So I'd use a graphing calculator. I'd type ln of 12, get a decimal, divide it by 0.048. If your answer starts with 51, you're doing it right. It's 51 point something, but you got to do the rest yourself to make sure you know how to do it. Okay, now I'm doing my last second attendance here. Perfect attendance this hour. Way to go. That's all I got for you for today.